You know, if there ends up being no June 2022 Nintendo Direct, that would be insane. I mean, think about it. We still have Bayonetta 3's release date that we need, Breath of the Wild 2 gameplay, though you could say that is coming out in spring, but it would be nice to see. Splatoon 3 could also use a big bag of news, although that is in September, and we could always have that in a September Nintendo Direct. Guys, I'm starting to think Nintendo is not doing that June Nintendo Direct. Hey guys, it's Rob here, and welcome back to the Robo Chancho, where we take the gaming news format that channels like Spawnwave or Arlo do, add a dash of animation and some cool editing on top to bring you your gaming news, leaks, and rumors in a fresh new way. If you're new here and want to be kept up on everything gaming, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you enjoy the video and dislike if not. In this video, we are going to throw out the idea of there being no Nintendo Direct, theorize why Nintendo would do that, and see what Nintendo's current lineup is and figure out what Nintendo can afford to wait on a bit longer for the next Nintendo Direct, be it a June Nintendo Direct or a September Nintendo Direct or whenever the next Nintendo Direct is going to be. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. It helps the video get pushed to more viewers, which means I have more time in between videos to add more cool animations to the channel. And if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,000 followers on Twitter, you can follow me at RoboRob93. Without further delay, let's talk about the one big question that we may need to ask: is there no June Nintendo Direct? So Nintendo has a ton of Nintendo Switch games lined up for us. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Bayonetta 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out very soon. In fact, there's a stream today, and at the time of this typing, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes isn't out yet. Ubisoft still hasn't given us info on Mario Rabbids 2, which I really want to see, and even indie games like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and heck, even Live Alive 2 as well. We haven't seen anything else on that since the last time we saw it. Not to mention there are plenty of third-party games like the newly announced Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion, as well as a ton of indie games and games that I'm probably forgetting, like, there is actually one I'm forgetting, the Monster Hunter Sunbreak DLC and the Mario Kart DLC, and oh yeah, and Pokemon Scarlet. There is so much that we're going to be seeing over the next year, and so much that we need to see from Nintendo that we haven't heard about. Nintendo actually has a pretty big lineup already when you look at it. My point in mentioning all of this is that Nintendo has a ton of games lined up already and could easily Twitter drop new games or new news for different Nintendo Switch games. So with all these Nintendo Switch games already lined up, and ones like Bayonetta 3 that don't have release dates that can easily have a Twitter drop and a new trailer for a release date, my question is, does Nintendo even need a Nintendo Direct, or can we just wait a month or two or until the September Nintendo Direct? Well, think about what Nintendo Directs are for. Yes, they get us all hyped for the new games and DLC, but on the Nintendo side, the business side, I think Nintendo uses them for marketing. Marketing to get the word out on new games and have more Nintendo Switch, Nintendo OLED, and Nintendo Switch Lite users know about these games and potentially buy them. And this is what I like to call the Nintendo momentum, or at least part of it, releasing games at a certain rate and marketing games at a certain rate. Now, if you guys have noticed, Nintendo has been sharing a ton of news about a lot of Nintendo Switch games. Now you may be thinking, what are you talking about? They haven't been sharing anything. Nintendo has been pretty quiet, you're insane. But that's actually not the case. They've been sharing trailers and news for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. In fact, we have a stream today in 30 minutes, actually less than 30 minutes. Mario Strikers, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, and hopefully we get some more info on Monster Hunter Sunbreak for players who are interested in that as well. If you notice, Nintendo is focusing solely on these upcoming Nintendo Switch games, not the games that are going to be in 2023 like Metroid Prime 4 hopefully, and other games that don't have a release date like Bayonetta 3. And of course the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 as well. Now assuming that you're still interested in the Legend of Zelda and are thinking, how the heck did they treat the Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary like it's just some small franchise and give Mario for his 35th everything? Click the top right corner to learn why I think they did this. If we try to put ourselves in Nintendo's shoes and the companies they're involved with in the upcoming games like Fire Emblem and the Monster Hunter DLC, we probably would want to market those games and get as much sales from those games as possible and not focus on other games. And keep in mind, this is coming from the company's perspective, not the player's perspective. Because if we're coming from the player's perspective, we pretty much don't have news on games we're interested in because not everyone is going to be interested in these games. A Nintendo Direct could potentially pull away from that, so maybe that is the reason reason why we don't have that Nintendo Direct and Nintendo is being so silent on games that are past 2022 up until 2023 and 2024. Now that is just one of my theories. Another thing you have to think about is that Nintendo has games up until 2022, right? Games like Splatoon 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Live Alive, other Nintendo Switch games that can keep Switch users busy until 2023. I would say at the very least until a September Nintendo Direct for Splatoon 3, which is the last big game we personally will see for the Nintendo Switch. Now, of course, this is all theory and guessing and speculation, but here's another theory for you. Here's how I can see things playing out if there is no Nintendo Direct this month. Nintendo could just stealth drop a couple games on Twitter or on their official YouTube channel to fill in those missing gaps. And along that time until September or even January of 2023, they can also have different Nintendo Directs for different games like Splatoon 3 or even an indie Nintendo Direct or a mini Nintendo Direct. And then we can have that Nintendo Direct closer to 2023 to set up 2023 and 2024, and they can set up Breath of the Wild 2 along the way as well. And then by then we'll be getting close to 2023 and 2024, so most likely the next Nintendo Switch, whatever that is gonna be, a Nintendo Switch 2, a Switch Pro, a Switch 2, whatever it's gonna be, they can announce that as well and release it alongside Breath of the Wild 2. Oh, and by the way guys, update on those cookie comments. We have 2 comments that are potentially inappropriate, which pretty much confirms that YouTube doesn't like cookies. So if you've reached this part of the video, I wanna say thanks, and here is a cookie. Make sure you put the cookie emoji at the beginning of your comment if you reach this part of the video. So with all this in mind, is it possible that we could have no Nintendo Direct this month? Will we not see Bayonetta 3, Breath of the Wild 2, or any new gameplay for Splatoon 3? I think yes, it is possible. Now, of course, this is just throwing out the idea of it not happening. It could always happen, and I hope it does happen. The rumor right now is for the 29th, so they could easily announce that Nintendo Direct the day before, and that's why we're not getting an announcement for that Nintendo Direct. Even if we got that Xenoblade Chronicles Direct, because Nintendo has done Nintendo Directs closer to the big Nintendo Direct before, so that is always a possibility. I don't think having that Nintendo Direct necessarily affects the ability to have another Nintendo Direct this month. And this goes into another idea I have, and I think Nintendo could do, and that's having multiple Nintendo Directs this month. We have a Xenoblade Chronicles Nintendo Direct in 1 minute, actually. So could Nintendo be doing multiple Nintendo Directs for the bigger games and have that huge Nintendo Direct to announce new games? I talked about this in my last video and other videos, but it wasn't until it actually dropped on the news of the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct that I thought it would be a possibility. Now, Nintendo leaker New Marco Maro also shared a tweet saying 1 out of 3, so that could mean that we have 2 Nintendo Directs this month as well. So we could have multiple Nintendo Directs this month, and maybe one is for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and maybe another one is for Splatoon 3 maybe. Or maybe we can have a Nintendo Direct and another Nintendo Direct for Splatoon 3 or Breath of the Wild 2. There are choices, which I could see happening if Nintendo wanted to do multiple Nintendo Directs instead of a big Nintendo Direct. Having their own Nintendo Directs for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 and Xenoblade 3 and of course Splatoon 3 would be a good idea, because then they can focus on newer games for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I did a poll on the channel and asked if you guys think there is still going to be a Nintendo Direct, and 74% of you said you think it's still happening, and 26% of you guys said that no, there isn't no Nintendo Direct this month. Now, jumping down to the comment section, the first one says Nintendo is so unpredictable they could easily make us wait until September for the next Nintendo Direct. So yeah, that is totally possible. Like I said before, it is 100% possible. Nintendo has a ton of Nintendo Switch games to line up the rest of the months until 2023, so having no June Nintendo Direct is a possibility. The next one says, I think the Direct might be next week, maybe even on the 23rd or 24th. Now, if this were to happen, the next Nintendo Direct would be announced today and then be tomorrow, or announced tomorrow and then released the next day. And honestly, I do hope that happens. That would be fantastic. Of course, that means this video is just useless and doesn't make any sense and no one's gonna watch it, but we'll see what happens. The next one says, I hope so on June 29th, which yeah, I hope it's on June 29th too, and if it is, I think it could be announced the day before or even 2 days before. If it is on the 29th like it is rumored, then we should get that announcement very soon, maybe even today, I mean who knows? Today being the 22nd. And the next one I want to read off makes an excellent point. From the marketing standpoint, there's no way Nintendo is gonna do one, given their competition already has theirs, and with the investor meeting coming up, if they have nothing to show for their holiday season, it would not look good. At this point, I think the refrain from announcing is a marketing move in and of itself. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the leak dates were announced by Nintendo in order to create buzz and have people on the edge of their seat for the thing is finally announced. Or I mean, for this thing to finally be announced. To me, it's a matter of how impressive the showcase will be. So yeah, that's the thing. If it is something that's going to be really impressive and they're going to show a ton of Nintendo Switch games, even if we do have to wait longer, in the end, it's still going to get us excited. And like the commenter says, he says that if you're waiting longer, you're going to be more excited when you finally get it. It's kind of like dangling the carrot in front of the horse, so to speak. Kinda. And that is the last one I'm going to be reading off. If you guys are still interested in the Nintendo Direct, here is part 1 of my Nintendo Direct speculation for whenever Nintendo is going to drop this Nintendo Direct. Click the top right corner to watch that. And real quick, I want to share some progress on the 1993 Mario movie. So I did the body for him and it turned out really good. It actually turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to turn out. When you put it side by side by a screenshot of the game, it looks pretty close. So I'm pretty excited to get this out for you guys. Now I still have to make Luigi, Bowser, Toad, and all of these characters dressed up in their 1993 outfits and stuff, but I think in the end, creating that video of, it's essentially a review or a look at the game, or the movie, I think it's going to turn out really cool. I mean, you guys see the Paper Mario animations that I use in my videos from the official artwork that Nintendo put out, so if I can make my own and do a whole video on it on the 1993 Mario movie, I think it's going to turn out pretty cool. So I guess we'll see. I don't know when that's going to come out because it's going to take a while to get all of the set designs and stuff and all of the characters drawn up and stuff, so it might take a while. I also still have to make videos at the same time, so, you know, it's going to take a while. But aside from that, make sure you guys tell me your thoughts on the Nintendo Direct and when you think it's going to drop. What is your speculation, or why do you think Nintendo isn't showing the Nintendo Direct? And tell me actually what games you're excited for. Personally, after that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct, I'm really excited for this game. Oh, and of course, tell me if you guys enjoy the lip syncing as well. It takes extra time to do that, sometimes a whole day extra for the video, so if you guys enjoy the lip syncing, make sure you leave those likes, shares, and any interaction on the video, which will help the video. And if I get those, I will do more lip syncing in later videos as well. And if not, on your way out, make sure you subscribe for more videos and also have that notification bell on. And if you want to support the channel in any other way, there is my Patreon and Twitter account in the pinned comment if you're interested in those. Oh, and also have this donut if you're still sticking around for me rambling. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.